Okay, now on to the next video for first-time buyers and those new to the AR. In this video, we're going to go over Milspec. What is Milspec? Well, first we have to know that civilian ARs can never be 100% Milspec due to the simple fact that they are not capable of select fire or any kind of automatic or burst capability. While we can buy examples that do have that capability, and we can buy parts, registered parts for that capability, those that were made before 1986, they are of limited availability, extremely expensive, and for the most part outside of most people's use scenarios for the rifle. Full automatic has very limited usefulness overall, especially for a civilian. So, what we mean by Milspec when it comes to civilian rifle, we are talking about dimensional and material specifications. The dimensions, all the parts should be of correct shape and size, so they fit together correctly, and they should be made of this correct type of materials. So, is Milspec important? It can be. It really depends on you and what you plan on doing with a rifle. If you don't shoot a lot, you shoot a few boxes out of the rifle every now and then, maybe less than a few hundred every year, then yeah, you don't need to go and spend a lot for extra tough features or Milspec. But if you do put your rifle through a lot of abuse, you shoot thousands of rounds every year, you go to combat rifle courses where you can be dropping and banging your rifle around a lot, the extra peace of mind of Milspec can really be of use to you. Now, what is Milspec exactly then? Well, let's start with the receivers. The airplane loader receiver will be made from forged 7075 T6 Type 3 hard anodized aluminum. Oh, what does that mean? Forged is a process for manufacturing metal parts in which hydraulic rams and hammers form the material into a die, and it puts an overall shape onto the outside of the material, and then it can be finalized with machining. 7075 is a type of alloy of aluminum. T6 is the heat treatment standard, and type 3 anodizing is a surface treatment and finish that protects the aluminum alloy, and it is a very tough finish, which is why it's the spec. Now onto the buffer tube, which is correctly called a receiver extension. This will also be made of 7075 aluminum. It'll have all the same general specs as the receiver, though manufacturing process will be slightly different due to it being a tube. Now, where you're going to find aluminum, wherever you find aluminum on an AR, it should be 75 aluminum. And there's one place though that rule does not hold, and that is free-floated handguards. Sometimes you'll find some that are made of a more exotic material like carbon fiber or magnesium for extra weight reduction, but most of them will be made of aluminum. But they will be made of 6160 or 6061. My brain went completely blank on that one. Either way, it is not 7075, and there is a reason for that. The 60 series aluminums, while not as hard and overall tough as 7075, do have better flexibility specs than 7075, meaning that if you hit them, bang them against something, they will flex and then move back to their original shape rather than deform and bend permanently. They can be bent, but generally they can be moved farther before they take a permanent bend. So since the forend can be banged around a lot during use, it's more beneficial to have that extra flexibility there. Now, moving on to the barrel. Your barrel will be made of a 4150 chrome molybdenum steel. Now, when you look at the specifications, actual mil specs, it's this long string of numbers and letters that actually refers to a couple different formulations of steel. 4150 chrome molybdenum is one of those formulations. They're both, I believe, actually a 4150 type steel with slight variations in the alloy makeup. Some of the trace metals that they're put in. So when you look at your specs, you need to look for 4150 chrome molybdenum. If you see that, you're good. Do not confuse the chrome molybdenum with chrome lined. That is not what it means. Chrome molybdenum is a reference to the alloying of the steel and the materials added to increase strength and corrosion resistance. Chrome lining is different. So chrome lining is also spec, and you need to make sure the barrel is listed as having a chrome lined bore and chamber. The outside will also be parkerized with a magnesium phosphate type finish for corrosion resistance of the outside of the barrel. So that is the specs for the barrel. Next, we can move on to the bolt and the bolt carrier. Your bolt itself will be made of 158 Carpenter steel, and it will be shot peened, which will give it extra hardness on the surface. It should also be magnetic particle tested and high pressure tested, meaning that they will test the bolt using a high pressure round to simulate that is above the pressures that it would normally be subjected to during firing, and then afterwards it will be tested using a magnetic particle test, which looks for defects and microscopic cracks and problems that can't be seen by the naked eye. So basically it's stressed and then checked to make sure it held up to that stress, and if it passes, then it can be used. That is the specification for your bolts. Now, for your bolt carrier, it is not made of the same steel. It's 8620 steel. It's not as tough overall as the bolt metal is, but it is well suited for the stresses that the bolt's going to be subjected to, because they are subjected to completely different types of force and forces and when during the firing process. So that's one reason different steels are used. Something to look for when you're looking at a bolt is that the screws that attach the gas key to the bolt carrier body are staked, meaning that the screws, the metal next to the screw has been permanently deformed using a punch or a tool to swedge it against the fasteners so they will not come loose. Another thing is that the gas key and the inside of the bolt carrier should be chrome lined, just like the inside of the barrel. That is for corrosion resistance and service life of the bolt and carrier. Now, moving on. Another thing that you should know is that on the better built rifles, when they make the parts, all the parts will be individually finished, meaning all anodizing for aluminum, any parkerizing coatings will be applied to individual parts before the parts are put together. Some of the cheaper brands may assemble parts together before they do the finishing process. Usually you'll see this in the barrel with the front sight post and gas block. They will assemble the gas block onto the barrel and then send it to be parkerized. This means you'll have slightly less corrosion resistance because there will be some steel in between those two parts that does not get parkerized and can rust. It's not very likely if you maintain your rifle properly, but technically that is not proper spec, and some people find that concerning and try to avoid those types of rifles. But it can be hard to know which is which, so you may have to do a little extra research and ask some questions. Generally though, some of the better known brands that are well known for quality will have you covered when it comes to finishes. Now, in the next video, we'll start into what isn't mil-spec and why some rifles and manufacturers do not meet mil-spec or maybe even exceed mil-spec. And what does that mean for you?